Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Board of Education regularly scheduled meeting. Today is April 25th, 2023, Tuesday. It is 5:02 p.m. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order again. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and for all of my board colleagues, the superintendent, Dr. Stubblefield, to all of our staff, and to all of our guests that are here present with us, both in person or if you're joining us virtually, welcome, and thank you for joining us. As we do at every board meeting, I will read our board norms and protocols. We agree to respect differences of opinions in making decisions for the district, to follow best practices in managing the superintendent and the management of the board itself, to stay on task when conducting business for the district, including while at board meetings, to never surprise the superintendent or each other when conducting official business of the district, to read these norms at the beginning of each board meeting and at board workshops as a reminder of how to conduct our meetings, and to continually self-check to determine if we are following our norms when conducting district business. Again, welcome and thank you for joining us. And with that, Ms. Smith, please do a roll call.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, present.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, present.
Janie Humphreys.
Janie Humphreys, present.
Randy Lopez.
Andy Lopez, present.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, present.
Rachel Russell. Dr. Nguyen. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we approve the agenda, I would actually request or entertain a motion to add an executive session regarding safety and security.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphreys.
Janie Humphreys, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would now entertain a motion to approve tonight's amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphreys.
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to jump right into our agenda. First up on the agenda is one of our favorite parts of any board meeting. We get to celebrate you, our community, our students, our staff. So we will invite up Dr. Jermaine Wilson, and I see Miss Samry Devon coming up as well. So I will hand off the microphone. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Board President Lopez, board members, Superintendent Stubblefield, and the KCKPS community. We are very excited tonight to introduce to you two very amazing employees that we would like to celebrate. Before we do that, I know Dr. Stubblefield always goes over the rules, so she even wrote them out to me for me to read tonight. So
I didn't write them.
she's very organized. So when the recognized employee or student is announced, please join us in the front for a picture. Our communications team will capture a picture of you for social media and web page recognition. After we have finished the first round of recognitions, we will have a short break and where we will capture 3 additional photos. The first being with the student, superintendent, and the board. The second, we will ask our nominating staff and principal to join. And the third, we will ask for our families that are here to help support and join the group. So we're going to start off, and I'm very pleased tonight to announce Ms. Jessica Moya, who is currently a teacher associate at North Central Office Early Childhood Center. And there she is. She is... This evening, she is being nominated by Miss Amber Block. Miss Block shares that Miss Moya is a dedicated, passionate, and has a very, very strong work ethic. She believes that all children deserve a safe and supportive learning environment, and there is nothing she will not do to make sure all students experience that. She continues to ask questions every day and actively participates in every single professional development opportunity that is afforded to her. So NOCO ECC is a much better place for all the students just because of her, and others. So congratulations, and thank you for your commitment to our students, and congratulations for being Employee of the Month for April. Our second employee that we would like to recognize tonight is Miss Abby Cole. This is incredible. So she is a social worker at Quindaro, and she is the recipient of the 2023 Kansas School Social Workers Association School Worker of the Year from across the state of Kansas. This award is presented to a committed social worker who maximizes their role and exceeds expectation and demonstrates great leadership. So Principal Albritton, her principal, shared that Ms. Cole supports the needs of the entire school by implementing trauma-informed practices, and by spending a lot of time with students in the classroom, and also by supporting parents with concerns and resources. She provides students with the skills that will help them become independent and successful in life. Ms. Cole is a lead social worker for many of our other elementary campuses who seeks out her expertise and advice every day. Ms. Cole will also be recognized at the Midwest School Social Work Conference scheduled for this fall, along with other school social workers from the Midwest states. So she will be receiving her award from the district next week. But congratulations, Abby Cole, and thank you for all that you do for our students, family, staff, and community. Thank you so very much.
Good evening, Board President Lopez, members of the Board of Directors, and Superintendent Dr. Stubblefield. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way." As always, during this favorite time of the month, I'm excited to present to you our USD scholars who are doing both great things and small things in a great way, such that it is impacting their school in a positive way. Our students for Students of the Month are nominated under 6 domains: either attendance recognition, outstanding academic performance, positive behavior, commitment to service and citizenship, scholarship and/or community recognition, or outstanding athletic achievement. Tonight, I am excited to bring before you for our April 2023 Student of the Month representing early childhood, Zaina Muhammad. Zaina is an exemplary student at Morse Early Childhood Center and has been nominated by teacher Rosiah Marks. According to Ms. Marks, Zaina could possibly be deserving not only Student of the Month, but Student of the Year. When she transferred to my classroom, I immediately noticed the star and the brilliance that Zaina holds. The first thing noticeable was her ability to illustrate. It is important for them to learn how to illustrate instead of draw, because when she illustrates, her cultural identity with her depictions of the Afghanistan flag, her family members in traditional garb and jewelry, as well as the American flag are represented. Zaina is also on her way to being a great reader and math star. She's such an influential learner at such a young age. She constantly encourages her friends to try hard on their schoolwork throughout the day and helps even our tiniest classmates become acclimated to the classroom. During the school celebration of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, educators in Morse asked students what they want to be when they grow up. Zaina's answer was, "My dad said that I can be a doctor." Ms. Marks told her that she agreed with Dad and let her know she has the power to be anything that she wants to be. Anything. The sky is the limit for this young lady. I'm so proud to have her as a bright star in my classroom. Congratulations, Zaina Muhammad. Representing our elementary schools, we have Sierra Vega from T.A. Edison Elementary School. Sierra is a kindergarten scholar at T.A. Edison and was nominated by Principal Cindy Kopp. Sierra is an ambassador of kindness and support at T.A. Edison. Last week, a new student was enrolled and assigned a seat across the table from Sierra. The new student had never been to school. Everything was new for him. Sierra took the new student under her wing, helped him hang up his jacket on the hook, helped him open his milk, and organize his breakfast. All morning, she guided the student through the routines of kindergarten. Sierra is empathetic and practices personal safety as defined by our Kansas SECD standards. This was also demonstrated at recess. The new student wanted to get on various playground equipment and headed toward the wobbly bridge. He began to panic. However, Sierra encouraged him to stand up, and she called another friend to help. They held his hands and slowly helped him across the bridge. When he got to the slide and slid down, he was all smiles and ready to go again. This went on 4 or 5 times, and then as he got more confident, we could see Sierra shining bright with a smile. Sierra spent her entire recess that day helping a student conquer his fear. What a great example of a T.A. Edison soaring eagle and a future teacher in the KCK school district. Fun facts about Sierra. You see Sierra's in this elegant gold gown.
Yes.
So I asked her what made her choose that outfit for this evening, and she said, I know that everybody was going to celebrate me. She loves art, and her favorite food is pizza. We are so happy to have Sierra Vega with us.
Wow, that's cold.
Representing our middle schools, we have none other than Mia Camargo from Central Middle School. Mia is an 8th grade student at Central Middle and was nominated by Melissa Malcolm, the MTSS facilitator, under the pillar of positive behavior. Mia is always willing to step up and shine when asked to take on the role of a leader. As recently this week, we were in need of additional help to do lighting for the dance. Even though Mia has never set up or taken down the lights, she worked with another student and a staff member, Ms. McPherson, to establish the necessary requirements of the job. She defined her role, and boom, she was off like a rocket. This is our Mia every day. She is so humble in nature. She's dedicated to Central Middle and the Bear Cub traits. She's a natural academic, but knows what she has to do to work hard to maintain her grades. She's willing to put in the time and effort to do so. She's always engaged in class. She's the student you wish could stay around for a few more years, just so you have her in incoming classes. We can hardly wait to see where Mia goes in life and what path she chooses to follow. Because of her persistence, positive behavior, and ambition, she is so ideal for the district Student of the Month. I asked Mia what advice she would give to other middle school students, and she said, always try your hardest. When she's not at school, she likes to play with her dogs. She wants to be a math teacher in the future, and she's most excited about next year as she is accepted as a Sumner Sabre. Congratulations, Mia. Representing our high schools, we have none other than Javier Ochoa Rodriguez. Javier is an 11th grade. Now, he made me make sure to say this, so I know he got it from his principal. Javier is an 11th grade Mighty Wyandotte Bulldog.
All right.
And has been nominated by none other than Principal Mary Stewart under the pillar of service citizenship. Javier is a young man of strong character, vision, and voice. Through his development as a leader and his deeper understanding of Diploma Plus and the importance of college and career readiness, he has initiated a project to include student ambassadors as a key component in our Student Success Center at Wyandotte. Javier understands that students have a great influence on their peers. He also shared his feelings of entering high school, not believing that college was a possibility for him, particularly because of the financial burden for him and his family and not understanding all of the options available. Javier believes that for our school and district to reach our 100% Diploma Plus goal, we must include messaging from the students. He has a vision of the Student Success Center's ambassadors. He meets with the 9th and 10th grade advocacy classes to share information and resources, and he has begun to build the message of possibilities. He envisions the student ambassadors being collaborators with the Student Success Center and the Diploma Plus team to support the messaging with 11th and 12th graders in the future. He's had numerous meetings with the Success Center team, Principal Stewart, and leadership mentors to take his vision and his reality to the next level for the 2023-24 school year. He has developed into a strong leader who now knows that college opportunities are for him and wants to leave a legacy for others to ensure that every student, no matter what grade they're in, begins to believe that it can also be for them. Javier is a student leader that is working to shape the trajectory of the work throughout the district. When Javier is not in school, he likes to go to the gym and lift heavy weights. He also wants to be an engineer and attend K-State University, and he's most excited about his work with the Student Success Center because he wants to leave behind a legacy for future Wyandotte Bulldogs.
All right.
Congratulations.
You did it.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
We're going to take pictures, and then I'll have the next introductions after that. Thank you. Jessica, will you please come up? Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Just come up here.
If you're a nominator or a family member, if you'll just come over.
Come to this side. Yeah, right behind. It's in your game. Yep, perfect. That's perfect.
All right, look right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, thank you. If I could have the staff come up now to take a picture with the board and the superintendent.
All right, everyone right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
And if I could have Jessica's family, please come up with a picture, all of you.
Okay, Ms. Clark. Go back. Okay, you're good.
All right, everyone right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations. And Abby Cole, will you please come up and have your picture taken with the superintendent and board? I don't know what you want to do.
All right. Can I have the front row scoot that way just a bit? There we go. And then Ms. Page. Yep, there we go.
All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Okay, and staff and principal, please join Abby on stage for a picture.
Okay.
Right here. 1, 2, 3.
And then we
And then we can take the picture together.
Okay, Zaina, will you please come up? You want to do the?
Hi.
I don't have all the names.
Oh, no, everybody else.
I don't have to announce anything else.
So I was like, I don't know.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
There it is.
1, 2,
And neither one of them have called.
1, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
So it's in the background. Thank you.
Can I have you both step down one? Yeah, perfect. Okay. Can I have the back row scoot that way just a smidge? Thank you. And then, Randy, if you actually want to step down, it might look a little better. Yeah, there we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
Do you want me to take your picture? You want me to take it? Get it back. We'll send.
Yeah, can I have family step on this one right here? Oh, the first step. Yep, perfect. All right, right here, everyone. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Look at her. She just acts like she's just confident. Right. She's a confident little thing.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Awesome. I'll just pay Randy. Yeah, you just scoot out and I'll have the principal stand right there. There we go. All right, right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Take the picture.
There we go. All right, everyone look right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Oh, there went one more. One more, sorry, one more.
That one is kind of a side angle.
All right, everyone right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay?
You want to come in the middle and take it?
All right, I'll have everyone look right here. Ms. Clark, can you move that way just a tad? A little bit more. Your face is directly behind someone else's. All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. If you guys want to step up, you can. Okay. All right, everyone right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay?
I think I got enough on there for you. Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
One second.
actually gonna have the three of you step down, if you don't mind, because you're all kind of tall, so can you also step down? Thank you, and then the rest of you come a little closer.
De Santa Bárbara.
Okay.
Mi familia de Santa Bárbara también. Mi mamá.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then, can we scoot back row? Sorry, can you scoot that way just a little bit? I just want to make sure I get everyone's faces. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Severiza. Severiza. No le puedo creer.
All right. Yep, you're good right there. All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Thank you.
They're from Honduras. And I think we're related.
There we go. All right, everyone right here.
My grandmother's related.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay?
You could just want to stand just along about to.
They were rolling into consent.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to take a few moments just to introduce some of our new administrators to the board and to our community. So I'd like to start with Ms. Jamaica Lawson. So she's appointed the next principal at Francis Willard Elementary for the 23-24 school year. She is currently assistant principal at Wellborn Elementary. Ms. Lawson has spent the last 10 years of her educational career in KCKPS, and she is a proud product of our school system from elementary to a graduation from Sumner Academy. So let's congratulate Ms. Lawson. Next, we have Ms. Roan. She is appointed principal of McKinley Elementary for the 23-24 school year. She is currently an assistant principal at Banneker Elementary. She has been an educator for over 22 years, and including 17 of those right here in KCKPS. So congratulations to you, and welcome. Dr. Dana Jackson is the new principal from New Chelsea Elementary, and she is currently the principal at Highland Park Central Elementary School in Topeka, Kansas. She has been an educator for over 10 years. She's coming back home. She has spent 6 years of those 10 working for Kansas City Public Schools, Kansas City, Kansas Public School, and she is also a proud graduate of Sumner Academy. Mr. Samuel Simmons Sr. is also coming home. He is our new District Director of Athletics, Activities, and Student Development. His current role is the Assistant Principal and Activities Director at Park Hill South High School. He has been an educator for 15 years, including 11 of those in KCKPS. Mr. Simmons is also a proud graduate of Schlegel High School. So. We are very excited to help them begin their new journey and to see all the positive impact that they will have on their staff and students. So thank you very much and welcome. Yep. And they're color coordinated tonight too. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight. It's great to meet all of you, and we look forward to all the exciting things you will bring to KCKPS. And again, congratulations to all of our students, families, employees of the month, and to all of our staff who put in so much time to do great things with our students. So thank you. We'll continue with our agenda. Next on our agenda is item 3. Would entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew. Yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen. Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is community comment. Again, just a reminder of our policy. Please, if everyone is welcome to give comment, just make sure you sign up the Monday noon before the board meeting and check in with our board clerk. Everyone has 3 minutes to speak to the board, and the timer will start after you give your name and start speaking. So tonight, I believe we have Miss Angeline Howell signed up. And I don't see her. Ms. Smith, no? Okay. Okay, thank you. But again, everyone is welcome to sign up and give comment at any point. So we'll continue with our agenda. Item number 5, we will hear from our superintendent of schools, Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
Good evening, everyone. I have a few announcements and reminders. I'll start by saying today is School Bus Driver Appreciation Day. Thank you to Mr. Miguel Martin, the Director of Transportation, and all of our school bus drivers and the team members who make sure our students are transported to school and other activities safely in rain, sunshine, and snow on time. So thank you to everybody who's a part of that transportation department. KCKPS is teaming up with the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department to bring awareness to the dangers of fentanyl in our community. Captain John Diaz with the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department will present information that will help educate parents, families, and community members about the dangers of fentanyl and the signs associated with this drug. The meeting will be held at Gloria Willis Middle School on Tuesday, May 16th from 6 p.m. until 7 o'clock p.m. Also joining KCKPS Captain John Diaz will be the KCK firefighter Josh Magaya and a parent who lost their child to fentanyl earlier this year. This will be an important discussion, so we ask that you please share that across the community, and we'll make sure we communicate with our families. Just in addition to that, I just want to remind everyone that as a district, we partner with First Call. First Call is a prevention specialist partnership with our teachers and staff to educate and prevent alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use among our youth. The program is currently being implemented in our district with 5th and 6th graders. Students this semester in response to the high demand for drug and alcohol prevention, but also helping our students with healthy life choices and skills as well. We will also partner and continue to partner with them for our middle and our high school students as well, and we will communicate this information out and continue to communication out with our parents and families. Students at J.C. Harmon got a chance to visit with Kansas Senator Pat Petty last Wednesday. Petty says it was important to visit schools annually in her district. She's been a lifelong resident of Kansas City, Kansas, and has a deep connection with Kansas City, Kansas public schools. She spent the day in our JAG-K program over there and had an opportunity to listen in on my listening and learning session with the students at Harmon High School. I had an opportunity to hang out with students from J.C. Harmon and Wyandotte High Schools yesterday in the virtual reality hack competition. As a part of their curriculum, students were asked to create a virtual reality application they hope to help improve the healthcare industry. The students did a great job creating prototypes of health-related concerns and issues for youth ages 10 to 18. I want to congratulate the students for their projects and look forward to the collaboration that they will have with one another to continue to work to solve health problems within their age group. I also want to thank Ina Montgomery with Urban Technology Empowered and all the judges who showed their support for the students on yesterday. We're looking forward to the ribbon cutting event to celebrate the $20,000 gift to Frank Rushton Elementary from the NFL Play 60 space. The refurbishment of the classroom includes the painting of the Play 60 theme mural that in 2007 the NFL launched. The NFL Play 60, a national youth health and fitness campaign. Its primary focus is on increasing the wellness of young people by encouraging them to be physically active for 60 minutes a day. Since the launch, they've helped millions of kids and families engage in physical activity and improve the physical and mental wellness. I want to thank the NFL for choosing one of our schools for this awesome program. The deadline for signing up for the summer learning program has been extended. Parents now have until Tuesday, May 5th to enroll their students into this fun and exciting opportunity. Our summer learning program is designed to help students maintain the skills that they have acquired during the regular school year. Simply log into Infinite Campus parent portal or go onto our website at kckschools.org. These are just a few of the things that are going on in the district. Please take a moment to visit our website or our newsroom or follow us on social media for reminders and to hear about others. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stubblefield. So lots going on. I'll share a few items, and I'll try to be brief, and then I'll open to the board to share as well. First, I do want to say thank you to all of our staff. Our last regularly scheduled board meeting on April 11th, we shifted to a day meeting at Gloria Willis. So I did just want to publicly say thank you to Ms. Guess and her entire staff for hosting the Board of Education for our meeting there, and there was a lot of work that went into moving the board meeting to be at Gloria Willis. So thank you, Ms. Guess, and to your staff for helping us to host our meeting there, and including all of our IT employees who helped make that happen, Jason Cotting and everyone else within IT that made that work, to our communications team to make sure that all the cameras and everything was set up so that we could still stream the meeting as well. All of our custodians who made sure that they had the room set up for the board. Thank you to all of our custodians for doing the work that you do every single day. To our superintendent's office, Ms. Dawn Downing, who helped to make sure we were all set up as well. And especially to our board clerk, Ms. Leslie Smith, who coordinated and worked to make sure that everything went as seamless as it could. So again, just wanted to publicly say thank you to everyone who made that happen. And then I also wanted to say thank you to our community and staff for coming out and participating in the last board listening and learning session this past Saturday. We had a very nice turnout, and including several students who attended and participated to give us some real honest feedback, particularly on the ESSER funding. That's kind of the topic that we were covering, but within that, there were a lot of different broad topics that were discussed, including academics, including safety, including extracurricular activities and others. So just want to say thank you to all of our community that came out and participated in that. I know that staff were at every table taking notes, and they gave that feedback at the end of the meeting, but I believe staff is going to take that, compile those notes, and share that with the board, so that for those that could not be there, we make sure that everyone has the information that was shared. So thank you again to all of our staff that were there on a Saturday morning. Additionally, I want to say thank you to our Board of Education. Last week we held a special meeting to conduct our annual self-evaluation, which was facilitated by Dr. Marcia Wiesman. Thank you to MVP who hosted us as well. It was a really great conversation, something that we're asked to do annually, but it's a great practice for us to have, just to make sure that we are talking about how we govern, how we practice, and how we can continue to improve so that we can provide guidance and support for our entire district. So thank you to all of our board members who participated in the evaluation process. It was, again, a great conversation around, and a good look back over the last several years. We were able to go through our last 4 years of evaluation, self-evaluation, and just have a conversation about areas that we've improved in, areas that we might still need some continued support in. So thank you to all of you that participated. And for those that weren't able to attend, I know you had a conversation as well with to give your feedback. So we're grateful for that as well. Thank you to our board as we continue to work to improve ourselves and how we work. Additionally, we reviewed our board handbook just to make sure that that's updated and current. And so thank you to everyone who provided that feedback. I know there was a lot of feedback and suggestions in terms of what we can update and how we make sure that the handbook is current. That feedback is being compiled and those changes are being made and revisions being made to the handbook. That will come back before the board after those revisions are being redlined in the board handbook. That'll come back before the board so that we can review it, and that will go through 3 reads before it is officially adopted by the board. So stay tuned for that. And as you continue to look at the board handbook, if there's additional feedback or there's something we may have missed, please send that information along to Dr. Stubblefield so that we can make sure to include that. Today I was able to attend, to go to Whittier Elementary to learn about our Lead to Read KC program, which has volunteers from across the metro who come and read one-on-one with students in classrooms. It was a great to see all of those community members come and read to those students. So Ms. Russell actually is one of those volunteers. One of our board members is a volunteer who goes and reads, and they come every week, every Tuesday for 30 minutes and spend that one-on-one time with students. So it was great to learn about that program and think big about how we can continue to support our students in our literacy efforts. And then just lastly, I'll just share, Friday I was able to attend the Kansas City, Kansas Community College Hall of Fame luncheon, which hosted and featured some of our very own KCKPS alumni and former educators that were being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it was a great opportunity to just learn about the work that the college is continuing to do and to recognize some outstanding individuals that continue to give back within our community. So thank you for that opportunity. With that, I will open the floor to the board. Lastly, just one shout out too. I know Wyandotte High School is hosting their gala this Saturday, so very exciting evening for Wyandotte as they celebrate their history and their alumni. So congratulations to Wyandotte High School, and I hope it's a great event for everyone. So with that, I'll open up the floor for the board.
Well, just wanted to say most of the things that you attended, I was in attendance as well. I've also been engaged in meeting with different departments. On April 13th, I met through teacher negotiations. On April 18th, the SPED advisory meeting was here at the central office, and we're looking at how we can improve on student needs. I did attend the board retreat, and then I was at the Hall of Fame. I was at the listening tour here in the central office, but one of the things that impressed me about that, we had students present who came to give impact as far as what they felt we may need to make things a little bit better within our district. I also attended the Junior Achievement student presentations, and it was just awesome to see how they had come forth from Harmon as well as Wyandotte High School with plans of how to make things a little bit better. And then last evening, I was here at the central office where they did an audio enhancement presentation, which is opening another door that we possibly down the road will be looking at. Today, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, I was at New Chelsea Elementary, where they're focusing on Career Day during this month, and I was there speaking to 5 fifth grade classes, which was very interesting to be there to listen to their questions and yet give them some impact as far as what my role is as a board member. So I just wanted to know that this month and next month is going to be pretty busy throughout the schools, but I'm listening and learning to be the best that I can be and know what I can do to help the students and staff within the school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. True.
I don't mind going next.
Please.
So I also attended like the listening and learning tour, and those were amazing, and I'm thankful for the people that came out. Additionally, it's prom season, and so me having a senior, also I was able to see a lot of our students out dressed up, very excited to see each other. We were at the park, and they were like yelling across the park as they were taking pictures and coming together and taking group pictures. So an exciting time, and they all look so nice. So thankful for our staff that's able to work through those logistics and make the nights very memorable for our students. Additionally, I spent my day yesterday at New Chelsea as well. I was with kindergarten through 4th grade. They have a lot of big aspirations. I am super excited for them. Kindergartners, I have one that told me he wanted to be a Pokemon. And another one wanted to be a princess. So we have they're kindergartners, they're excited still, but it was all in fun. We spent a lot of time together, but it was a great time. So thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Okay. Any additional comments? I will share just openly for the community as well. I know the board hosted 2 listening and learning sessions, but that doesn't mean that we're not listening. As Ms. Drew said, we are constantly wanting to hear from you, our community, our staff, and everyone that we work with. So there are definitely opportunities for you to continue to give your feedback. You can always reach out to the board directly and email us. But there are places on our website where you can also submit any concerns, any questions, anything you want us to know about. There are places on the website that I would point you to make sure that your voice is heard. There's actually a page that says "Your Voice Heard," where you can submit information, and that goes directly to the superintendent's office and her leadership team. So we want to make sure that you know that there are avenues for you to continue to give your feedback. And the board, as we work through our board budget, it's that time of year, right? We'll look at what those sessions look like for the next year as well. So, and speaking of our website, I will just share, I know our communications team does work extremely hard to make sure that there is new and current and updated information on the website. Part of a conversation that we had on Saturday was around how much we are putting out and making sure that folks know that there is where to find the information. So please, if you haven't had a chance to visit our website recently, I'd encourage you to do so. There's a lot of really great and excellent information that highlights some great work our students are doing. And so that's always changing daily. I know they're popping out stories almost every single day. So please make sure you take the time to visit our website and our social media pages as well. So if there's no other commentary, then we will continue on with our agenda. Our next agenda item, it is recommended the Board of Education accept as an informational item the Turner Quarterly Report as submitted by Ms. Carol Levers and as recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on the report? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Wynn, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Our next agenda item, it is recommended that the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education accept the low bids totaling $141,038.99 from 2 contractors. I won't read them, but they are there on the agenda recommendation in accordance with the requirements of Board Policy DJED and is submitted by Mr. Wayne Correll, Mr. Steve Lilly, and is recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Wynn, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next agenda item, it's recommended that the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education approve the Intentional Living Proposal and TPT Today's Promise ACT Prep as submitted by Dr. Judith Campbell, Deputy Superintendent, and as recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Wynn, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Our next agenda item, 7C, it is recommended that the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education approve the adoption of a science curriculum resource for middle school science as submitted by Dr. Danita Fernandez Flores and Dr. Judith Campbell and as recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Lopez, I have a question.
Yes,
When
please.
again, I didn't send the question, I'm asking now, they can give it to me later. But when this new curriculum, is it all online? Are they hard books? Just asking.
Yeah, so we could have someone come forward.
Mr. Martin and Dr. Fernandez Flores are coming forward.
So the question is around the curriculum, if it's all online resources or if they're actual hard copies of the books and other curriculum items.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The curriculum resources are available both digitally and in print. We will be printing on demand for any needs that teachers have, but they will all have access to the digital resources as well. So everything is open education resource available to print as needed, as well as digital access.
And for the digital part, can the parents access this material or only the kids?
It would only be, it would be teachers allowing the digital access for the students.
Okay.
And so we're working on different things of landing pages to make those things more accessible. But it wouldn't be, because a lot of the things have assessment items in there, so it'd be controlled via the teacher.
Because I know a lot of parents will say, we want to help our kid.
Yep.
And if they don't know where to go, is it possible to go to a site to help them? So that's
There-
why I asked you that. I didn't know.
No, that's great. We actually have, with every unit, we already have in both English and Spanish home communication letters that are drafted that talk about the design paradigm with Open SciEd. That's going to be able to be sent out. There'll be opportunities to look at a lot of student-facing resources, and then we'll also be working on Canvas modules as well that'll be accessible by parents.
And will you eventually come up with something for those Asian and African students so that they can communicate?
I would, so a lot of it, from what I understand, I'd have to probably defer to the ESL department about that, because I know that there's different things in terms of letters, but those were already provided by Open SciEd, and so I think, yeah.
Ms. Rodriguez is coming forward.
So one of the things that we do with our materials is, because the assessments are in English, we do try to use instructional strategies like the SciOp model that was approved last board meeting to ensure that teachers are using visuals, that they're really focusing on the academic language. One of the things that we're excited about Open SciEd is their use of academic language and word walls. My team has already been collaborating with Spencer since about November, trying to create those things. I know some of the units are prepared with ESL structures in place. As far as letters to parents, we can support with that, but one of the things that I'll also highlight during my time to speak is that we also have to consider what are those digital ways that we can send information home to parents, because a lot of our families that do speak Burmese, that also speak Swahili, Kinyarwanda, they aren't literate, so what we can do with digital pieces, and we can brainstorm some of those things, but that's something that we'll be working on throughout this next year, and again, I'll highlight during my board presentation.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we cover everybody.
We're working.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out to the ESL department too, and I've been working really closely with Abby and Carol as well to develop specific resources for emerging multilingual students, taking from Open SciEd and iterating. It's been a really great process, and I think we'll have some really great stuff that's custom for us, building on this resource.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for those questions, Ms. Page. Additional questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Martin, Ms. Rodriguez, Dr. Fernandez Flores. Seeing no other questions, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes?
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Our next agenda item, 7D. It is recommended that the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education accept the bid from A to Z Theatrical in the amount of $73,880 for theatrical rigging projects in accordance with the requirements of Board Policy DJED as submitted by Mr. Wayne Correll, Mr. Steve Lilly, and as recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Lopez again.
Yes, Ms.
And I
Page.
apologize. I didn't send the question in advance, so if they don't have the answer now, I'll wait on it. They only had 3 of the middle schools, so do the others need it, or since they're newer, they already have it?
Thank you for that question, Ms. Page. And I see Mr. Correll and Mr. Clemens both coming to the front.
I'll leave this one to them.
There were no.
Good evening.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. What we did was put out an RFQ for the bid, and then they went out and inspected all the sites. And so these were the very high priority, really kind of safety factors.
Okay.
And so that's how these schools were specifically identified.
Okay.
Okay?
Ms. Russell?
Don't go too far. So I guess a couple of questions I have are we currently only voting on priority 1? And why are we not voting on priority 2?
Priority 1 were safety, things that need to be done, and then we would come back with priority 2 and the others after evaluating that. But it was prioritized by safety and what was in the current budget.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So you're saying there are no outlay dollars available to do priority 1 and 2 in this current budget? Because that's not what I'm understanding it
Okay.
as.
And
But
I
also-
see in my peripheral vision
Yeah.
that Mr. Lilly's on his way up.
My other question related, so this only addresses theatrical rigging. We continually have issues with when there are performances or there are award assemblies in these older buildings, the sound, the little box on the floor, like that's not cool. Like that's not adequate. That's not what families or students deserve when they're being recognized or when they're coming to see their children. So when is that going to be addressed? And I know I've brought this up multiple times, and so when does the sound issue get
Well, I
addressed?
think actually there has been some discussion, but we can look at that maybe for, again, this next budget cycle and put something out and have somebody give us some input and thoughts on that. I don't have the answer for you.
Okay, and that's
tonight.
fine. I also did not ask these questions,
Yeah.
but I also have asked this question before in both high schools and middle schools. We've got to address the sound
Right.
in the theater
Yeah.
places. Like, it makes no sense. Our kids can't have thriving arts programs if we don't have thriving sound systems.
Got it.
It's the same thing we ask for at
Right.
athletic fields
Sure.
and stadiums.
Yeah,
So
but specifically for this tonight, it is just really the safety
it's
on the theatrical things. We don't want anybody
I
getting
got
hurt with
that.
that
I
stuff.
just don't understand why we're doing it in multiple parts when we can do it in one swoop if I'm looking at the capital outlay budget
I'll let Mr.
correctly.
Lilly address that part.
Our capital outlay funds are really dedicated for this school year. And what we need to do is look at that capital improvement plan as we move forward and prioritize those projects, other projects, what our priorities are moving forward.
So are you saying to me that all of the current capital outlay funds that have not been expended are already accounted for on current projects?
No, that's not, I'm saying within our budgeted amount this year, if we want to deplete our capital outlay resources, if we want to reduce our
I'm talking
cash
about the
balances, that kind of stuff.
Specific number that is in the 22-23 school year, that all of those dollars that have not been expended in the current budget for capital outlay are already spoken for.
Or we're getting tight. I mean, we don't have an extra 500,000 to move towards that right now.
So maybe I will just ask that if we could outline what those expenses are that we are expecting to incur, because I still see overage, I guess. And maybe I'm not looking at the right line on the budget finances, but that was why I was just like, if we can do 1 and 2 today and be done with it, why will we not? But I guess I maybe am not understanding the capital outlay.
Sure, and
budget.
we can get you a list of where that's
Okay.
at right now, too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Thank you, Mr. Lilly. Mr. Clements, any additional questions? And Mr. Lilly, when you send that, if you can share that with the full board. Thank you. Ms. Clark.
And I'm actually going to ask it to Dr. Nguyen, if you don't mind. I just want to make sure of the overlap. So can you help me? I'm just trying to connect dots with what Ms. Russell's asking versus the work we're doing on the Finance Committee. And I just want to make sure of the overlap. And I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot. I just want to make sure we don't have people working.
No, there's no spot because I don't have an answer,
Okay, okay.
because I don't understand your question.
Well, the question that Ms. Russell just asked about the dollars for capital outlay, and it's just a generic question of just making sure that we're not overlapping work that's being done and like where dollars are already being allocated.
It's a very good question.
Okay.
Because we have not reviewed the total budget that we're operating from.
Right.
So I don't have that answer, but it points to what we should be looking at.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify, and I'm
So I
not
guess
putting
my
you on the spot because
clarity-
that's one, okay.
Oh, I guess where I can clarify is when I look at, we did the capital outlay, what we were planning to do for the entire year for the next 3 years. And I don't see that all of those projects have even come to the board. And so that's where I'm, in my mind, maneuvering money. I'm not maneuvering it specifically, and I'm trying to get into this balance thing. So I guess that's where I'm struggling, which back to your point is what we should be looking at, which is if the money is available. I'm sorry.
Well, let me answer like this. There should be a quick reference point that we could go immediately to that document, and then you can answer the questions. Something we need to do.
Okay.
And so I would just add that with the original capital outlay, when it came to the board, all of the dollars were allocated. Have they been spent this year, or have all those projects come forward? No. If the board, within that, this was not something that was on there. But as a board, if you want to say, we want to prioritize this over those other things, we didn't bring that back to the board. This was within the current capital outlay. So as the board is prioritizing, if this is a priority, it would mean that something else on that list is not when we presented it. So that's something during the budget cycle that the board can revisit and make a determination about what's the priority around all of the things that are there.
So I guess I'm confused because when I think about a plan, I think of like, these are the things we're going to make sure we do in this year. And I'm not saying that I don't want to prioritize the things in the plan, but I'm saying if the things in the plan are not going to happen, then that means we have the budget in this year. We currently have all of the information for the theatrical stuff, but we also don't have all the information for the other things that I guess we prioritize, but we aren't.
So some of the things are out to bid, some of the things will come up to be bid, like some of the things is dependent upon, and we don't know if that it won't necessarily be bidded out and the money will be allocated this year. And so that's what Mr. Lilly was saying. There's so if there are things that we don't have the bids back for, we haven't put out to bid because of who may be doing the work, like all of those things, timing-wise, and I could pull it up, but I don't have it in front of me. If that is what the board wants us to do, we can prepare that and bring that back to the board. If this is like going to take the place of something that's on the list that either there are bids out there for or that we will be taking to bid before this fiscal year is over.
I will just leave it at this. I feel passionate about the arts and prioritizing that. I think it has been long awaited for in our district. I don't think that we should continue to piecemeal things. I believe that our kids deserve beautiful theater places just as much as stadiums and uniforms and all of the things, but I know that the arts is one that has continued to go, to be defunded or lowered or all of those things. And so that is my comment and my statement. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Additional thoughts or questions? So Mr. Lilly and the team, so if you could just pull that information that was requested and then share that. You can send it to Ms. Smith and she can share it with the full board so everyone has that information. Thank you. Seeing and hearing no other questions or discussion, there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve this item. Miss Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Jenny, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda, 7E, it's recommended that the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education approve the NFL Play 60 Play Space Refurbishment Project as submitted by Dr. Amy Washington, Dr. Judith Campbell, and as recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion on this item?
Just one, and again, I apologize. Did they just randomly pick them, or they applied? Was it open to everybody and some?
Mr. Birch is making his way to the podium.
Hello, everyone, and good evening.
Good evening.
According to the information that was shared with me, there was a process as far as them picking it. And the other thing which was shared recently, the NFL draft is in town, so they have chosen some schools in the metro area to be part of this program.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Birch. Additional questions or comments, discussion? Thank you. Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Jenny, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next agenda, Section 8, New Business Board. These items are for informational purposes only. However, if you have questions, please ask and we will answer or try to. And if we cannot answer, then we will make sure we get the answers to the board. The first item are the protective cases, the purchase of protective cases for high school student devices. Any questions on this item? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move to item B. This item is approving or accepting for information tonight the migration of district email from Microsoft Outlook 365 to Gmail and a 3-year license agreement for Google Education Plus. Questions or discussion on this item? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will move on to the next item. Again, informational purposes only, the solicitation of bids for produce vendor for the 2023-2024 school year. Any questions or discussion here? Okay, seeing and hearing none. The next item is the solicitation for bids for asbestos abatement at Washington High School. Other questions or discussion? Yes, Ms. Page.
Do any of our other schools have this problem?
See Mr.
And
Clements
again,
coming
if he
forward.
doesn't have the answer now, I just like to know.
Yep.
I can't tell you the exact number. We have had, there's reports that we had a third-party consultant prepare for us in, as required here in NESHAP reports. A lot of our schools have asbestos in mastic under the floor tile. We don't really have very much insulation anymore, ceiling tiles, but there are spots, and so we have reports that identify that. Yeah, and we're doing this because of, really, it's the next item, the work that's planned to do in the cafeteria there at Washington. We're going to plan on taking the existing floor tile up. Well, the mastic that's under that floor tile has a certain asbestos content, and so we want to take that up while we have the floor tile up.
Is there a legal amount, how the government would allow you? I hate to say it like that, but
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
And I wish I could tell you specifically, but I'm hesitant to say a specific number.
Oh,
No, I
no,
mean,
no,
if
I
it's
get-
there, we have to abate it,
Okay.
so, yeah. If we're going to disturb it. Now, most of the time, there's all different types of classifications. I don't really want to get into all that. And if it's there, unless it's in a powder form, it's perfectly fine. But once we start to disturb it, then we need to do something with it.
Thank you.
Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. And as a follow-up, will the group that's doing the facilities evaluation, will they run into this asbestos? Will they evaluate? Will they have any contact?
No, other than we will provide them with the reports, the HERA reports that have been done, so they'll be aware of it, and they probably will make comment to it, but they're not,
They will do no physical evaluations?
no, that's been done. Through the HERA reports, that was done by the other third party, and we will provide that information to the facilities assessment team.
Okay, so from that report, you only have this result?
No, like I said, it's in many of our buildings.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you
Yeah.
answer it like that.
Okay.
Ms. Page. Just go
Yeah,
ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, it's in, I said I don't know the exact number of buildings, but it is in several of our buildings. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, many,
Many need to know.
yeah.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
while we're working on budget, you'll be able to come back and tell us how many do we plan to do each year?
I can tell you that really, at this point, I'd say that there's not a plan unless we are specifically planning on doing some work that's going to disturb it that would create a need for us to abate that. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Wyandotte High School, built in 1936. There is asbestos in Wyandotte High School in the concrete, in other areas under the floor tile. So until we're going to do a project, then maybe we would take up all that floor tile that was put in 1936. It's in a good condition as it is right now, but until we go to disturb it, that's when we would have to actually do something about it. So we did quite a bit. We did not abate every building during the bond process whenever we were doing something that was going to affect it. And then, of course, we go through the process and make sure we get the clearances when we're all done and the approval that we've got it taken care of.
Thank you, Mr. Clemens. Additional questions? Okay, thank you. Our next item for information is our solicitation for bids for the summer 2023 flooring projects. Are there questions or discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll continue with our agenda with item F for the solicitation of bids for the summer 2023 masonry projects. Any questions or discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will continue on with item G, the MOU between KCKPS and the UG Department for 911 call taker training. Any questions or discussion on this item? Yes, Ms. Russell.
I also did not prepare any questions before this meeting, but I would like to understand how we're creating partnerships and how that relationship works. And really, I'm looking more for like, how are we leaning into things that students want to be doing? I recognize that there is a law enforcement pathway, that we have created this partnership with the Sheriff's Department, but I also want to make sure we're not just focusing all of our efforts on just UG or like government positions. So what other partnerships do we have in the pipeline that will support the majority of our students. And I'm speaking specifically to high school students, because I don't hear 1,000 high school students saying, I want to be a cop, I want to be a dispatcher, I want to work for the unified government. While I want to support that, I also just want to make sure that the time and energy that we're putting into partnerships is what our students hope for their outcome to be. And so it doesn't have to be answered or that, but I would like some information around what other partnerships will be available to our students in the upcoming school year.
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent question, Ms. Russell, just as we're thinking about our goals around Diploma Plus and those opportunities. And so I think that's a really excellent question as we continue to evaluate what those opportunities that come up for our students and making sure that they're relevant and something that our students do want to participate in. So thank you for that question. I'll, if there's any staff or Dr. Stubblefield that you may want to speak to the question in general, or
Dr. Fernandez Flores can speak to it in general, and then we can get more in-depth information.
Good evening. We have various community members, community partners or business partners that reach out to us to start investigating possibilities of connecting our students' interests to the positions that are available and opportunities that they have. So in the pipeline, you'll be seeing soon, the Learning Club is an opportunity that falls within our teaching pathway. So you'll see that partnership being formalized. We also have the community housing. That's also another partnership that we are developing through the construction pathway at Wyandotte. And we are working with KU Med to start putting in opportunities in the health fields as well. So those are just some of the partnerships. They do take an extensive amount of time. The commitment that some of our partners need to have for our students is different than what they're used to. They're used to internships around college students, and so we need to be able to develop an understanding of what our high schoolers need, as well as how we can develop those employability skills and soft skills in our students, and that they also have the underlying skills that they are asking in order to meet the criteria that is required. So we've got various partnerships in the pipeline that are coming, and some take a little bit longer to be able to process than others.
Okay, and I guess I will just go back to my statement of like also making sure that our students have a voice in this, because like when we're in kindergarten, it sounds cool to say, oh, I want to be a cop or a teacher or those things, but like, are those the relevant things that students in our buildings right now are saying? So I just want to make sure that we're leaning into the voice of students, utilizing whether it's these listening and learning tours that Dr. Stubblefield is having, just to make sure that we're going down the right path, because we've had the conversation before around are we offering the right pathways to our students? And I would hate to be forming partnerships that will later be irrelevant to our students. So,
Absolutely.
thank
And
you.
just today, we had Mr. Javier, who is working in the Diploma Plus Success Center at Wyandotte, who he and I will be meeting, and he's got some ideas for us, too.
Great. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
thank you. Okay, we will continue on. But thank you for that question, Ms. Russell. I do want to say that's an excellent question, as in everything that we do, I think gathering that student voice. I mean, I know there are definitely different opportunities to do that, but I just continue to lift that up in these conversations will continue to be critical in how we move forward. So thank you for that. Our next item, if there are no other questions, discussion on that item? Okay. Our next item is letter H, the COPS grant, the COPS grant with the U.S. Department of Justice. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll continue with letter I. This is the community eligibility provision. Are there any questions on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we will continue to move forward. But as always, as questions come up, please send those to Dr. Stubblefield so that we can address and make sure we get all the right information to all board members. Thank you. Okay, so our next agenda, we have a board report coming to us, so I'd invite Ms. Rodriguez to the podium. Tonight, board, we will hear a report from our Department of ESOL and Migrant Programs. So good evening, Ms. Rodriguez. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Board President Lopez, Vice President Clark, Board, and Dr. Stubblefield. This evening, it's always a great pleasure to present in front of you, but tonight is even more just to highlight a lot of the work that ESOL is doing and what the migrant programs is bringing. So as we begin, I do want to highlight the core leadership team of the department. One position I do want to just call to attention is our language management position. This is a new role for the district and department this year, and actually within the last few weeks. And the intention of this role is to move all of language services into one department. Prior to this, it used to sit in student services, and then the physical people sat in ESL. So we're trying to bridge that and then have a component of oversight to really pull some data on how we're servicing our families and what are the services that they need. And I'll highlight some of those pieces as well. As I get started, I do want to talk a little bit about just a big overview of the department. We're really trying to shift our language to be more asset-based. So speaking of our programs as Title I Part C, which is the migrant program, oftentimes our families or our teachers hear that and they connect it to immigration. It's not connected in any way. It's really specific to our families that have a migratory lifestyle because of the work that they have. Currently, we have 197 students receiving services. This doesn't include the 0 to 4-year-old students that aren't enrolled in our district. We are required by the federal government to service the family as a whole. This group is serviced by our 4 family advocates and our 1 IDNR specialist whose role is to increase the number of families. We've been collaborating a lot with Dodge City and the state to ensure that we have a recruitment plan in place. Our ESL services, we serve over 8,000 students. This year alone, we've identified about 1,500 kiddos. From the start of the year and to now, we continue to enroll kids. We continue to screen based off of the requirements. We're very excited to share that we've been piloting the state KCKPS screener. This will be required for all districts in the fall of 2023. We've been on the front end providing the state some feedback. Our department has 66 teachers, 51 instructional aides. We have 7 instructional coaches, and then we have 3 intensive language center sites that are housed at Eugene Ware, Central, and Washington. And these sites used to formerly be newcomer centers. We've switched over because we've seen an increase of students that have lack of formal education or no formal education at all. So it's really providing them just a whole robust opportunity to learn how to be in school and then learn the things that they need to be successful to transfer back to their home school. And then we've hosted some fall and spring cohorts of SIOP. We'll have 2 opportunities for teachers to engage in this training, and are most excited that one of the authors of the book, which is over 20 years of publication, will be here at our summer summit, providing 2 sessions, one around the science of reading and SIOP. So as I begin kind of digging into the work, one of the things under the leadership of Dr. Wilson was to engage in a long-range strategic plan. A couple of things came out to light for us. One is academics, professional development, family engagement, and language supports, and the last is compliance. I'll highlight these, but compliance is kind of the thing that keeps us going. Big pieces for academic and professional development is really that focus on high-quality instruction for all of our learners, but really focused on our multilingual learners and what they need. So to do that, we also know we have to engage in really robust, high-quality professional development that's research-based and that teachers can touch continually. So those impacts and wins for us are that cross-collaboration with curriculum and instruction to providing we've provided trainings to our ESL teachers and our instructional aides around the intervention tools. They've also had a robust training with CKLA, as you heard earlier. We're trying to get on the front end of the science professional development and ensuring that that's woven in between. We've also worked on a lesson plan template that has the SIOP pieces connected to it, and I keep saying that word, but I want to ensure that it makes sense. It's a sheltered instructional protocol is the big long term, but it really means, do you have visuals? Do you have pulling out that academic language. Are we connected to the student's background, connecting it to their cultural background, but also what we've taught before? And then what strategies are we putting in the hands of students so that they can be independent learners? So it really mirrors a lot of what we're bringing in with AVID. What are those student strategies? Is it the note-taking? Is it, different types of pulling out research on their own to be independent learners? And then we're also planning to increase the number of students testing for the syllabi literacy. We have completed our KELPA testing and are very excited about that. We've been working through a development of our high school and middle school English language development course. We've been piloting some things, working through that curriculum, and then we've had our SIOP training cohorts as well as our ESOL praxis endorsement cohorts. We want to ensure that we have these teachers that are the most highly qualified in the seats for students, and that does require that certification. Few more highlights. I know you've seen some academic data before, but I do just want to pull out a little piece that shows that about 5.4 of our students have increased in that early reading. We're moving kids to that on-track level due to that focus on Tier 1 instruction. It's not the interventions that we're putting in place, but it's the things that we're putting in the hands of kids, that really robust academic language and instruction. And I'll say that time and time again because that's what our English language learners need, but that's also what all of our students need. How are we engaging with the academic language and utilizing it? And then the implementation of our research-based curriculum resources. When I originally put this together, we didn't have KELPA scores, and so there's some data from last year, but yesterday the state did release the scores. We have 84.5% of our students either at proficient or nearly proficient. That's what we anticipated to see because that's where our fast bridge is kind of telling us where we're going to go. Again, another point to the focus has to be on that Tier 1 instruction because that's where the bulk of our kids are. We have about 3% of our total population is considered a newcomer, meaning they've been in the United States for a year or less. So really the majority of our kids in our data are kids that have been here either from kindergarten to now or have been in our system for a little bit. And so as we continue to hear about the curriculum instruction pieces, as we continue to look at what does that instruction look like at the ground level, these are the things that are going to support all of our learners. Next steps is to increase our efforts to embed SIOP framework into Tier 1 instruction. Again, it's the visuals, it's the sentence stems, it's the things that really make learning engaging, and that intentional planning, making sure that it connects to the letters training as well as the AVID, which it does. It sits in the component of strategies that is within SIOP. We've also done a crosswalk into DigiCoach, so administrators have access to see what should be evidence for those teachers. We want to focus on that evidence-based instructional strategies that will move student language proficiency. Over the course of the next 3 years, part of our strategic plan for the department is to do an evaluation of our ELD and sheltered courses, to look at our instructional model at the elementary level. Is push-in the right model, and how do we restructure it so that we have more ESL teachers in the classroom during Tier 1 instruction? And then the dual language implementation. Very first year, we really want to focus on the program structure. Did we get it right, or what shifts do we need to make? A few board meetings ago, you all approved a SIOP training for the next 5 years. I highlighted a few of those pieces, but next year we'll have some, July, not next year, but next academic year, we'll have some trainers here from SAVIS as well as one of the authors. And that training will continue to impact teachers, and it will get to a point where over the next 5 years, all of our teachers will be trained on the SIOP model. Then we have our areas of family engagement and language support. This part of my team is the hardest working part of my team. They're the ones that are boots on the ground at all of the events, as well as supporting a lot of the things that you see online, the flyers that go home that are in multiple languages. We have 3 ESOL family advocates, 7 bilingual community outreach workers, and then our language management specialist that's going to support being able to collect data and streamline the processes. The other piece that this role will do is at some of our buildings, we have translators, interpreters, we have front office staff that do some of these things. We'll now be able to provide training to that group, which we haven't been able to do at a district level before. Some of our impacts and wins is we're revamping our translators interpreters program. We've started with a small cohort and connected with Diploma Plus. We have 7 kids that have gone through the whole year supporting, going through training on what it is to be a translator, an interpreter, and supporting at events such as FA, Enough is Enough. Next year, we plan to increase the number of students that we can bring in, as well as continuing to offer that Diploma Plus credential, and then be able to screen those students for the syllabi literacy, showing that they can navigate 2 languages. As I shared before, my team supports those district initiatives. We hosted our last Saturday Language Academy. This was funded through a grant with KU. That funding source has now gone away, but we're still planning on how we'll continue that work. We've been able to implement fully in-person migrant events and bring back our impact meetings, which are Migrant Parent Advisory Council. We've hosted dual language nights, one at a district level, and then supported at the 3 buildings that are dual language buildings to impact their family nights, and then collaboration for different events for our limited English proficiency partners. And then we also want to celebrate a lot of the things that we've done in collaboration with TIS. We've been able to go to TIS and start translating in Infinite Campus. It's a lot of work. It'll take some time, but some of the really important forms are starting to get translated. We're also working with communications, doing some monthly update videos, supporting with some of the flyers that are coming out, and identifying different ways to give access to our families that maybe aren't literate in their languages and bring in other languages to the team. So our next step is to increase our number of TIP students, continues to support through those district initiatives, through cross-departmental collaboration. We want to redefine and renew what our Saturday Language Academy is. We want to continue to partner through schools with engagement events. One of the things that my team is most excited is initiating a parent leadership cohort for limited English proficiency parents, and also engaging in a newcomer onboarding system. A lot of times we hear that some of our families are coming in and they haven't had a traditional American schooling experience, and some of our buildings are daunting. So how can we support them from that very first moment of enrolling to be able to engage that parent of what some of the signs mean, how to call their students out. And so that's something we'll be working on over the summer to be able to onboard our families. And our launch date is hopefully August, September, but still continue to work through that. Again, I shared that we're really looking at collecting data and stakeholder input to be able to streamline our language support process, something that hasn't been tweaked in a while and really needs to do. And then really be able to provide training to staff that serve in those interpreting, translating roles, so that we're using best practices, the same that we do with students, we want to do with our parents. And then we also want to call to attention at the next board meeting a submission for a change in the department. We'd like to be known as the multilingual education and services, because we really want to hone in on that asset-based language. As I shared before, when our students hear themselves called ESOL, or we use the word migrant, it doesn't really encompass the students that we have in place. They're multilingual, they're multifaceted, multicultural, and we want to be able to share that in what we call our department. We want to celebrate the diversity of languages. We have over 63 languages. We're one of the most diverse districts. We want to highlight that and the team that supports. I didn't share, but we do house in the district, in this department, 6 of our top languages as people that can support through that translation services. We also want to encompass the addition of the dual language program, making sure that what our title is really talks about all of the services that we provide for education, and shift those misconceptions about our current name, and ensure that families know that we're here to help them and support them, not to bring any other trauma or other pieces. So we do ask that at the next board meeting that you all consider approving that. And then, as I shared, we're working on our 3-year strategic plan. We'll already started some planning, starting some SMART goals, pulling some initial data for that. We want to continue our professional development for the district with our annual professional development plan. One of those big pieces is the SIOP implementation, but also collaborating with curriculum instruction. As you heard, for example, the science curriculum. How do we get ahead of that? And then also the implementation of the dual language program. What questions might I answer?
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. I know that was a lot of information to digest and to give in a short period of time. A lot of work and time has gone into this. I love the conversation around asset-based language and proposing how we make sure that all of our students come from that space. At one of the conference we went to, the NSBA conference, Dr. Stubblefield shared something that she heard in a workshop around calling our students linguistically gifted, I think was the term, rather than ELL, or but just using different language that values what they bring by being multilingual. So I really appreciate that. I do have a quick question, and I didn't ask this before, and if you may have said it, I didn't catch it. The seal of biliteracy, do you know how many students we currently have, and what does that take to get there, and why is that important for our students?
I didn't share that. I think I shared those numbers with you last year. I've combed the state website and can't find the numbers for this year. Last year, I believe we had about 37 students receiving a silver or a gold. Those students were only at Sumner. And so what it takes to be qualified for the seal of biliteracy is a couple of different things. One, we have to show proficiency in English. We could do that through the CALPA, which is our English proficiency exam, but that has to be passed at the high school level. Other indicators, ACT, their CAP scores at 10th grade, or another language proficiency assessment. That's for the English side, and then they have to take another assessment to show proficiency in a second language. We are really excited that we'll be working with students at Wyandotte, Schlegel, increasing the offerings at Sumner, not specific to the students who are in those language courses, but any student that might like to. And one more high school that I can't remember off the top of my head which high school we landed on, and it was really, this is more of a pilot year. Their students will take the Apple exam that'll test them in the 4 language domains, reading, writing, speaking, and listening in their home language. We've also had to do a little bit of research. We have some students that are wanting to qualify for the seal of biliteracy for sign language, so we've had to figure out who can test those kids. And then some of our languages not readily taught, we have to schedule like a phone interview for those kiddos, and that will be through the OPI exam. I think I won't rattle off a number in terms of how many kids we have signed up, but this is an initial pilot to see if we can kind of preliminary test students, and we did not restrict it to just students in world language classes. We did open it up. But to give context, Olathe usually leads the state with over 250 kids that receive the seal of biliteracy yearly.
And can you share why that is important for us as a district to continue to work through that, and for our students to be able to say that they have that seal of biliteracy?
Yeah, so seal of biliteracy works for a couple of things. One, we're wanting to put it in as one of our Diploma Plus credentials, and so that isn't within my department. That's we're working in collaboration with the World Language Instructional Coach, so she's kind of leading that way. I'm just supporting more of the logistics pieces. But the other thing it does, depending on a student's pathway, if I'm career bound, I come out with knowing my language proficiency. I can put on my resume, I can take it to any employer and say, this is the level that I can write, speak, listen, and read in a language. So students that qualify are at typically an intermediate high or an advanced low. So to put into context, to be a Spanish teacher, you just have to be at the advanced low level. It's what we speak now, just utilizing some academic language. And then for kids that are on that college pathway, there are lots of universities that accept the seal of biliteracy as credit. So they don't put them in that Spanish one, the French one. They'll be able to get retro credit for the courses that they took. It's also access to the global seal of biliteracy. And that's just another seal that students can say and put on their resume or however they'd like to leverage that piece.
Awesome, thank you. Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez, and I have a couple questions, and once you said what you said, generated another thought. So have you checked the area universities to see if they award credit for that seal?
So in my previous district, I could rattle off those names. There are some, I believe KU, K-State are those. I can just give like my own experience. If you can navigate the language and you're able to express that to a college instructor, most major universities, again, Pitt State, KU, K-State, will do either a test at their
Right,
site.
But I'm just saying, have you verified KU?
I have not, but I will double check with Alex Rain, the world language instructional coach, because I know that she has.
Right, so I mean,
Yes.
that, before you, I guess I would suggest before you make the claim, you can verify so that that gives it further strength.
Yep, I can
Okay.
definitely follow up with which universities too after I check with Alex.
Secondly, help me understand, I'm sure you're going to go more into this, but proposal and rationale for name change, what is the status of, what's your status now?
Yeah, we're the Department of ESOL and Migrant Programs.
Okay, so you just want to change the name?
Yes, ma'am.
So it doesn't change anything else?
No, just highlights what the department does.
Okay, so, and then help me understand the slide on, I'll just say, achievement, where it says academics and professional development. Explain what, you have 8.5, I thought I heard you say 85%, but you said 8.5.
I can clarify that. Yep, let me put that up so that we can look at it together. So when I put this presentation together and was submitted last week, we only had data from the 2022 CALPA assessment, so last year, the data that we used to start this academic year. What we saw was an 8.5 decrease in the number of students scoring a 0. Students typically score a 0 of unscorable assessments, or they just didn't make it very far through one of the 4 domains. So we saw an increase from 2021 to 2022. I did say 84.5 because yesterday the state released our 2023 scores. So our students took the CALPA February through March, and the state released those scores to us now. 84.5 of our students sit within the category of proficient or nearly proficient in the English language.
And how many students are you speaking of?
5,788 students.
So, and so what was, so can you say what the growth was? I mean, this is not 0 to 85.
No, I wish I could. I haven't had, I mean, those came out yesterday afternoon, so I haven't had an opportunity to really dig into what that is. Like, I just tried to pull some preliminary things because I wanted to celebrate. There is growth. We can see that in our Fast Bridge. We can see that in our Common Assessment. So the things that we're doing this year are making an impact. I can work with the DERA team to get you guys some better data. This is just a real quick, number math.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Russell.
I also just have a few questions. Did you say that translation services does fall under your department or it does not?
Complicated question. So the third-party translation services, Propio, Translation Perfect, things like that, used to sit in student services. So if we needed to have a language that we don't support here in the district, that would all go through student services. Now, the physical people, and I'll go back to that slide, those advocates and the 7 bilingual outreach workers, those sit within the ESOL Migrant Program Department, and they're the ones that you see at the events. If you attended the session on Saturday, you would have seen Daciel Suarez there to provide Spanish language support. If you've seen some of my team at Enough is Enough, we had Swahili speakers, we had I believe one of our Karen speakers there at the event. So it kind of sat between 2 departments. With the through last year into this year, with my previous supervisor, and working with the previous director of student programs, we worked towards providing this position. Unfortunately, it just went unfilled for a long time. The goal for next year, as we look at budgets, is to move it all to ESL so that we have one person managing it that isn't managing other programs as well.
So if someone tells me I'm a translator for the district, whose department are they in?
If they're an outreach worker, they're in my department. If they're a family advocate, they're in my department. Translators at the building level are hired by the building.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. So, translation services, so that, I guess I'm trying to get to my question, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to get there. So, a student, on multiple occasions, I've seen students be in a classroom, be on a field trip. A couple weeks ago, there was students on a bus who don't speak English. Who provides those translation services for the students? Or are these students literally just sitting in classrooms with no support?
Those should be, well, a nuanced question, because the goal of the program, of any ESOL program, is for students to access English. So with training like SIOP, with a focus on some of the AVID strategies that are focused on literacy, with letters, those pieces, the goal of all of that is to make sure that our students are getting instruction in a way that makes sense, that it's highly visual, that the teacher's using gestures, so they can input a lot of information to the point that they're ready to output. Now, what we try not to do, because it isn't best practice and it's not research-based, is translate everything. Some of the students that sit in our seat are actually not literate in their L1, so to put an academic information in front of them in a language that they don't read at a level that they may not be able to read because it has highly academic language is a disservice to our students as well. And so that's why those plans and the professional development proposals are out there to address some of those pieces that you've identified.
Okay, so I guess for me, I just oftentimes I'm like, what are they gaining by just sitting here? And so I just get concerned from time to time that it's like a waste of their time, but also just trying to understand how we make sure that they're moving. Like a fourth grader who can't comprehend anything that I'm saying to them, trying to assist them, like that feels problematic to me.
Yeah, and language proficiency takes about 5 to 7 years. So we also have to think about the stages that our kiddos are in. Sometimes that fourth or fifth grader may be a newcomer and in their silent stage. That's very normal. Some kiddos will sit in their silent stage for a month, 2 months. Some kids, it takes them a full 2 years to really come out of their shell and feel comfortable. It's really one of my favorite quotes from a researcher on language is, like, we can't assess the input that the students have. It's not until they're ready to output, and that's really at the student's level. So while we think the kids may not understand, they're just soaking up all of that content the same way that you are here, the same way that our English language speaking students are. It's all about the technique in which we're teaching them with our strong pedagogy.
Okay. I appreciate that. My next question goes back to a comment you made earlier. A couple years ago, we had a conversation, or the board had a conversation, because I wasn't here, I was just listening. We're around, and I can't remember if it was the KELPA test or if it was the CAP test, but we talked about how the test was available in Spanish, and we talked about the potential of allowing our students who were fluent, and I believe that you made a comment like they had to pass some type of fluency in order to do that. Are we no longer pursuing that for our Spanish speaking or our bilingual or those who are strong in Spanish pursuing that instruction base?
So the KELPA assessment has to be done in English because it's the English language proficiency assessment.
Okay.
It's the way that we know our students learning English. It's the state's way to gauge that. The assessment changed in 2020, so we're now at 3 years in which we can kind of do some comparison data. Before we couldn't. We have 3 years of data to be able to pull some of those pieces. FastBridge does come in Spanish, with the caveat of unless we have somebody that can screen students to the language level to understand if a student can access the content, can they read, can they comprehend at a high level. I always use my kid as an example. She comes from a Spanish-speaking home. She doesn't output. She will not. She can understand at a high level. She can pick up pieces to read, but she would not be an ideal candidate to screen. Now, with the dual language program, we will be screening students in their native language. So the first year of implementation, our Spanish-speaking students will be tested in Spanish because we need to gain their language proficiency and how much they're growing. Our English-speaking students will be assessed in English because we want to ensure that they're also learning at the level and to be able to do some cross-comparison. As we move up in the grades, that's when we'll shift to assessing in both languages, but really we have to establish language dominance first, and I think that's what you're getting at. We have to determine what language dominance is before we put an assessment in front of a student. Now for the syllabi literacy, that's really open, and we want to move it to a place where students can sign up because we know some of the languages that our students speak, like Swahili, like Nepali, we don't teach those in our district, and we don't want to take that opportunity away from kids.
Okay. I appreciate that. That is exactly what I was trying to get to the round circle of, so I appreciate that. My last question is, you aren't providing any information around dual language enrollment right now. Can you tell us when you will provide that information, what that process, how that process is going, or if that's something you can do tonight or whatever, just giving us an update?
Yeah, I don't have those numbers. I will be pretty transparent. Our enrollment, our registration for kindergarten is low. So that has a huge impact on what we can do. I do know that Dr. Wilson is working with Dr. Estrella's team. They're working with early childhood as well to bring out ways to promote kindergarten registration together. We'll have better numbers at Kindergarten Roundup. We're also starting to be proactive in thinking about what things do we have to switch for next year, because I wish I could give you those numbers, but I don't have a solid set of numbers because they're just not strong in general.
So I will go back to another statement I made before. So there seems to be a lot of interest around it.
There is.
However, we picked 3 schools, so I just wonder if we could look at the correlation of the permit process and access to those opportunities, because there are, even if it's not those 3 homeschools that have interest, how can we, and I won't say ship kids in, but like how can we move kids around who do have that interest, who are enrolled for kindergarten, to make sure we do have strong classrooms to start this pilot
Yes,
off?
and that's part of the plan.
Okay.
We have to prioritize the kids that go to that school, because then we'll have to ship those kids to another school. So there is a tentative launch date for that to open up for all schools, and we have a process in place for permit for those kiddos. Again, the challenges are we just don't have strong kindergarten registration altogether to even be able to pull from kids to offer that.
Well, I will just give a plug that Kindergarten Roundup is next week, next Wednesday. Anyone that hasn't gotten their kid enroll, show up next Wednesday. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Russell. Yes, Ms. Page.
Mr. Lopez had mentioned them being certified in a language and getting that certificate or something. Are we getting the word out? Do the kids know that this exists?
Yeah, so we've made some conscious efforts at a couple of different schools. One of the things is being able to find, the timeline is pretty quick, and so we're trying to replicate a little bit of Sumner's process, but also the process at other schools to assess kids. And so one of the other challenges that we have in the district is the level of language that we offer. Typically, school districts that really do well with the syllabi literacy offer a Spanish 5, a French 5. We don't currently have that, but I'm confident that that's something that will build with time. And so we've done grassroots at the building, and then this is more of a pilot year, and plans for next year are to increase that at FA from day 1 to hit those 8th graders, get them interested in taking a language class, get them interested in some pathway for language. And then, again, increasing our number of students that participate in the TIP program. I know Washington is hosting an event sometime in May where they're going to have different language professionals, so people that are interpreters, some people that work in the health field, doing a session for that and with kids, and we'll, again, broadcast again. Remember, you are eligible to take the syllabi literacy assessments.
And then my last question, your translators, not only do they have to be proficient in the language.
Yes.
What about writing the language as well?
Yes. So in my department, the process is that they go through a language kind of interview, and we'll ask them questions, and then we do ask them for writing samples as well. Those languages that we don't have in the district, we utilize our third-party partners, Propio, to kind of edit them and see where they're at, and then also for that interview process.
And can they speak more than one language?
So,
Like
yes.
2 or 3 or 4?
We have a couple of team members that speak Karen and Burmese as 2 languages. We have Mr. Matima, who speaks English, French, and Swahili, and then Justin speaks 5 different languages. 3 of those are different African dialects. So yes, we, again, going back to the name change, our department is the windows and mirrors of our student population, and we want to be able to highlight that we provide multilingual services, not specific to Spanish or any one language, but multiple languages.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez, for the presentation information. Thank you. Okay, we will continue with our board. Our next agenda item, item number 10, we are bringing forward some board policies and manuals for review. I want to thank the Finance Committee for their hard work on reviewing of the Purchasing Procedures Manual and the Purchase Card Manual. We've spent several weeks reviewing those and editing, and thank you to staff who worked through those as well. So tonight, the Finance Committee has approved at the last meeting to bring those recommendations forward. Board, you have those manuals in front of you, red line version as well, so you can kind of see what those edits are. I'll ask Dr. Nguyen, who's the chair of our Finance Committee, anything you would like to add, Dr. Nguyen, regarding the process or what we're bringing forward tonight for potential first read regarding these manuals?
Mr. Lopez, before we do that, can we take like a 1-minute technical break?
Absolutely, we sure can.
Appreciate it.
Yep, so we'll recess we'll give folks 7 minutes to stretch their legs. Thank you.
A technical break.
All righty, thank you for, perfect. Thank you for giving us a quick moment to take a stretch break. We are going to go ahead and pick back up. So again, we are at item 10A regarding our manuals that are up for first read. And I had just asked Dr. Nguyen if there was anything else that you wanted to add regarding the Finance Committee work to get this to the point that we're at today, or anything else you wanted to add, Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Really a public thank to Wayne Carell and his staff. These two manuals had not been reviewed in many years, and we went word by word, page by page. And I would say that probably it's 90% complete because there's always something that you don't know. And I understand there was a kind of a question about local vendors at the last meeting, working with the KCK chamber, and of which Dr. Stubblefield is a member just by virtue of the position. The other entities in our city have a local vendor policy. We had not. And the issue of quality calls into question the concern that, on the one hand, it could be interpreted as one doesn't think local vendors are qualified, but on the other hand, if we look at recent activity, I'm saying recent, the last 3 or 4, 5 years, what these manuals address are the bidding process. There are many awards that are not bidded. So that's why I'm saying I probably should say 50% complete. We have not addressed the criteria for those awards that are either less than 20,000 and or not required. Those services, professional services that are not required to go through the bidding process. So, but what we have is a lot better than what we had. And that, again, want to thank Wayne Carell. And so local vendors, also quality. When we get to credit card, there's a whole nother conversation. But again, thank you. This is the first read. We have a meeting coming up in a week or so. There could be some other additions. But are you wanting to entertain a motion for the first read?
I will.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. And Dr. Nguyen, just for clarity, is your motion to accept for first read both of those manuals or?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And now I'll open up for questions. Ms. Russell.
Can you clarify your statement around local minority-owned and women-owned businesses? Are you saying that we need to adopt a policy in order to support them outside of our normal purchasing bid process, or were you saying there's absolutely nothing we could do in
First,
that
I did
respect?
not use minority women.
I know,
So-
but in previous conversations, that was how it was characterized, is that we wanted to support local and minority and,
Right.
Okay.
And so those are, by definition, separate categories.
okay.
We had, the UG and BPU have a local vendor policy, separate from minority women policy. So to answer your question, to clarify, I was just addressing local.
Okay.
And that in then the body of the definitions, there is a local within the district, there is a Wyandotte County, and Wayne, you can probably come and clarify the process. Then you have to help me, is there a preferred or is there not a preferred? Okay,
We took that word out of there.
you have to speak into the microphone.
You did what?
I will. And so we added definitions to the beginning, what a local vendor is. A local vendor is domiciled within the boundaries of Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. A Wyandotte County vendor is a vendor that could be generally domiciled outside of the boundaries of Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, but in Wyandotte County. Okay? And so it makes a difference. When we get to the point where, like, if we have a bid and the lowest bid and the second lowest bid are within 1% of each other, I can give the opportunity to the local vendor domiciled within the boundaries of the district, the opportunity to match the lowest bid. Did I say that right?
Okay.
So the second lowest bid will have the opportunity to match the lowest bid if they're domiciled within the boundaries of Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, and those two bids are within 1% of each other. That is in state statutes. Right.
Now, let's go further. When it comes to minority businesses, we have addressed it, but we have not addressed it. Meaning, 2 or 3 years ago, we dabbled, but we never came up with a, and as soon as I stop and take a breath, Greg will say, Kansas does not allow goals, blah, 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 blah. but there's a way to craft policy to encourage, and I'll use his term, opportunities for minority women enterprises. But
it allows local.
Excuse me?
But it allows local?
Statutes say
Two
local.
different
There you
things.
go.
Yeah, Dr. Wynn's got it right. They're two different things, though. Local, and even in the bidding statutes, you can allow a preference for local, but local's defined as within the boundaries of the school district. So it's not the metro area, it's not Wyandotte County.
Talking to your microphone too, please.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me better now? Sorry about that. So local is defined by the statute to mean within the boundaries of the school district, and that has a specific meaning. You can allow somebody who is a local vendor who's within 1% of the lowest bid to essentially match the low bid and be awarded the project or the work. That's not, so local's not within the metro area, local's not within Wyandotte County. For the unified government, local is within Wyandotte County because they take the entirety of Wyandotte County, so they've got a little bit wider group of people to do. That's different than the minority group, which are designated businesses, women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses, which is Dr. Wynn has got the language correct. We can make some modifications and we can do some things along those lines, but we have to be careful with our language on how we.
So that Kansas statute is only written under the requirement of things over 20,000?
Things that are required to be bid on, which is
Okay.
which is over 20,000, and it's goods and services, and or not services, it's goods, wares, construction projects. I can't remember all the things that are listed off in that. I
So
could
the
send
things
statute.
under 20,000, we could still establish policy around those things,
You can still establish policy for things that are under the.
under the state statute, which requires it to be put out for a bid.
That's correct. Now, the one thing you got to be careful about is not doing something to avoid it, like say, we're going to award this contract in two pieces when it's really.
I would never do such a thing, but I do think there's my word would be intentionality. Like if we can't do it in one character, we can do it in another, and we can ensure that we're intentional and we have the resources in the purchasing department for schools and buildings and departments to know, hey, we would strongly encourage you to go this route. However, if you're not able to find the goods and services needed, you would go.
And that was the point I was making. These just deal with projects that are bidded.
Okay.
We have, and what is disturbing to me is that when you talk about, well, do our local vendors qualify? We don't even have a criteria of those that are not even bidded out. The $4 million to the lights, to the Arkansas company, I can't tell you their name. I can't tell you if the job was done. Can't tell you if the background check was made. So that's why I'm saying, we have worked very hard on this component. There's a whole nother, and I would dare to ask you the value of awards that are not bidded. I would even ask you to answer that question.
I mean, we do a lot of business.
Yeah.
And
You know,
it's
so-
just, and we're decentralized budgeting, and the schools spend their money.
Yeah, talking to the microphone.
The schools spend their money, the departments spend their money. You know, we look, everything comes through an approval process, and we see it.
And that's the
And
point.
and
The point is there's a process, so everything is according to the rules, but as far as a separate criteria on that body of awards that are not under these categories, boom, it could be, and I can make up any number and probably be correct. So, 50 million.
Well, you know, as far as the support of local purchasing, if you look on page 9, we spent some time coming up, you know, how to identify potential vendors, determine, you know, contact information, you know, things like that to support local. What we're going to do as far as the next school year goes, we're going to provide every school and every department with a list of local vendors that was developed by the UG and that we have vetted. And we're going to encourage them. We're going to tell them to try them first. okay? And, if we have categorized the list, so, if it's office supplies, if it's, shingles for a roof, and they're sold here in Wyandotte County, we're going to ask people to try them first.
So I guess just on that note, so you all, I believe your office hosted an event called Doing Business with KCKPS or
recently,
something in
yes.
partnership with a whole bunch of other people.
Right. With the UG.
Do we follow up with those entities of individuals that came out, or?
Yeah, so
Was it successful?
I talked to maybe 100 that day. There were people that were coming all day long, and I was busy and talked all day long. They provided me information, and I forwarded it on to the departments that could potentially use them. Okay. And I have their contact information still.
Ms. Clark.
So if I just want to clarify, because I will publicly say that I am the person that asked the question about quality in that call. And so what I meant by that was by no means that people here in Wyandotte County are not qualified or that their product is not what we're looking for. What I wanted to be sure of is that we did not create a policy that says you have to go this direction if that's not exactly what they were looking for, that there was some flexibility on what they were able to do. So I want to clarify that statement because that was my question. So I just want to make sure that.
And I agree with that, yes, understood.
Thank you. Additional questions? Okay, seeing none, there's a motion and a second on the floor to accept both of these manuals for a first read. Seeing no other questions, Ms. Smith-Rowe.
Did you say you wanted to make a statement about the credit card, or you had a whole nother conversation?
That's later.
Oh, I thought we were approving both of them.
We're approving both of those, but item B says credit card policy.
Yeah, these are the manuals, the credit card purchasing manual as well, and then the next one is the policy that is a part of these. Yep.
Gotcha. Thank you for that clarity.
Yep. All righty. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Jenny Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is regarding the credit card policies, and they have been provided on board docs for you. So Dr. Nguyen, did you have something that you wanted to share regarding these as well?
Once again, they are here as an attachment, and these policies had not been reviewed since 2015, and some before then. So once again, thank the staff publicly for, just working hard to review and update to the best of our ability and their ability. What should the policies say now? 2015, 2013, it's long overdue. So you have a series of them. Are you going to take them as a bulk?
So there are two policies that are here for revision. Is that correct?
No.
Mr. Goheen?
Yeah,
Four.
there's two. There should be a red line version of GANA and a clean version of the current policy. So it shows you what the changes would be, and these were meant to comply with the changes made to the credit card manual. And CEF is the other one that deals with credit cards. So those are the two board policies that you have that deal with credit cards. The changes are meant to comport with the manual, so that's what the two are.
Thank you. So is there a motion to accept for first read revised changes to policy CEF and policy GANA?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion on these policies? Yes, Ms. Russell?
I guess I just have a question about policy CEF in the last sentence and why it was added, or I understand
Because
topic of the paragraph, but I also, doesn't that relate to the transportation policy? Doesn't that last sentence, isn't that in line with the transportation policy?
That's correct. And previously, it was up at the top of policy CEF. You can see where the policy originally read, the superintendent's use of a district motor vehicle and district credit card shall be confined to necessary school business. So that part dealing with the use of automobiles was moved down to the other section that was already in the policy that dealt with expense for travel. So you got
But it
two.
was specific to the superintendent at the
Yeah,
top.
and I took that out because I didn't think it mattered
Okay.
whether it was being used by the superintendent or by Wayne, if somebody's using one.
It just felt out of place, so I thought I'd ask, and it is exactly what transportation policy says, so,
Yeah, it is.
gotcha.
And the only reason I kept it there was because, again, these are mirrored after KSB's model policies, and they've got
Gotcha.
the expense reimbursement and credit card in the same policy,
Okay,
so.
got it.
Thank you. Additional questions? Okay,
I'll
yes,
just-
Dr.
I'll
Nguyen.
just make the comment that in GANA, and I'm looking to look at your revised GANA. Okay. My heartburn is that, and help me again, Mr. Carell, currently we have 128 credit cards out?
I asked this morning, and there's 147 there. It moves all the time based on, terminations and, people retiring and,
Okay.
but it's 147 active cards. That includes all cards that are assigned to persons and those cards that are, we call them department cards. They're checkout cards. And it includes also, travel card that the board clerk has, and that's about it.
Okay.
Just for my financially illiterate brain, that's different than a purchase card, or it's the same?
Purchase card and the
Credit card are
and
the
Visa
same?
are the same, one and the
Okay,
same.
gotcha.
All right. So hypothetically, the second paragraph says, in no case will credit card expenditures in excess of $3,000 a month. So if you take your calculator, take 147 cards that are out in use, assigned to people, correct? Multiply that by $3,000, $441,000 by 12 is $5.2 million. Now, I'm not saying these are not authorized expenditures. I'm saying that this is $5 million we do not know and cannot account for, the board, because it comes to us as a credit card expense. I did not say it was an unauthorized because Miss Mindy
Danbury. Yes.
goes through everything with a fine-tooth comb. But I'm just saying for discussion purposes and to understand that this is $5 million we have no clue what it's spent on. Statement, it's verifiable. That's all I'm saying, that perhaps that blank check of $3,000 a month, which again, they may spend $3,000, they may not spend $3,000, but they have the ability to spend $3,000. Nevertheless, my issue with the credit card policy as it stands now.
Yes,
Want a
Ms.
motion?
Russell, go ahead.
Dr. Nguyen, can I just ask one question? What is the total overall budget?
That we have,
Yes.
500 million.
So I guess with respect to what your concern is, I guess I'm also looking at the small percentage of the budget that piece is, and I'm not making a case that it's right or wrong, but I'm also.
You don't keep track of the pennies. Think about it. $5 million when in a time when you need to, well, I'm not going to debate this. I'm just saying.
And I don't want to.
Something to be aware of. If it's okay with you, it's okay with you. It's not okay with me from a financial standpoint. That we'd have no clue where $5 million goes. No, we don't have much clue where $500 million go. Hey, truth.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with both of those statements in particular specifically, but
You know the point.
I agree. I understand the point you're making regarding looking at the dollars.
I will say that every expenditure is logged into Business Plus, which is our accounting system.
I made that clear.
yeah,
Mindy
yeah.
is overworked and underpaid, probably.
Yeah.
Give her a raise next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's looking at you, Dr. Nguyen. Worth that raise.
Oh, the raise, yeah.
Additional questions or discussion on this topic?
I dropped.
Okay, seeing none, there is a motion and a second on the floor to approve for first read policies CEF and policy GANA. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Wanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes, and I just want to say thank you to Dr. Nguyen and Wayne and the entire team that has worked on this. I know that it was no small task, and so I appreciate your weekly meetings and all of the things you
Ms.
did.
Clark and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
And Ms. Page, likewise. Everyone,
All the team members, thank you.
thank you.
Dr.
Nguyen,
Nguyen.
yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries, yes, thank you. Thank you to everyone who supported that. All right, we will continue on with our agenda. Next are our executive sessions. We can dismiss staff who do not have to participate.
Okay. Staff is dismissed with the exception of Sam Reed, Dr. Campbell, and Steve Lilly.
Thank you. So would entertain a motion to recess to executive session to discuss matters of security for 10 minutes, going in at 7:33.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark,
Wanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
And Dr. Campbell, Mr. Lilly, and Sam Reed will be joining the first one, and then Dr. Campbell and Sam Reed Devon will be in the last two.
Randy said hello.
All right, so I've got the board here. We're in the board library here. Is there a motion to return to open session?
Turn to open session.
Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Page. Discussion, seeing none. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark. Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphrey.
Jenny, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee.
Page.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen said yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to extend executive session for 10 minutes.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Humphrey, seconded by Ms. Russell. Questions? Seeing none. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark. Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphrey.
Yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda
Brownlee Page. Yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you.
Thank you. hear me?
Yes, okay. It took my background off. All right, motion to return to open session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Ms. Humphries and Ms. Russell. Roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark. Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries. Janie Humphries, yes. Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
On the Brownlee page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're back in open session. Okay, we'll continue with our agenda. Next on our agenda, motion to recess to executive session to discuss matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interests of parties involved under coma for 5 minutes, going in at 8:01.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Drew, seconded by Ms. Russell. Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark. Maxine Drew.
Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries. Janie Humphries, yes. Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
On the Brownlee page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to return to open session, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Okay, hold on just a second. Yolanda Clark. Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Jamie Humphries.
Jamie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brown, okay, yeah.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Wynn.
Thank you. Now entertain a motion to recess to executive session to discuss matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect privacy interests of parties involved under coma for 5 minutes going in at 8:11. Moved and seconded. It was moved by Ms. Clark, seconded by Ms. Drew. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark.
Yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Jamie Humphries.
Jamie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brown, okay, yeah.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Wynn.
Thank you. Motion to return to open session.
So moved.
And seconded. Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page, Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you. We're back in open session. Thank you, board. Thank you, staff, for tonight. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.
You can hit it.